I'll start off. So, Ollie, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you probably mentioned in the intro, but a little more in depth would be very interesting.
Okay,
Alright,
so
please do.
in terms of my channel, I think I started around 2014 or 15. Um, and I haven't really had any breaks. I've just been doing it constantly since then. Yeah, and I suppose I want to know how I got into it. It was probably Emperor Tiger Star because he's been doing it since maybe 2010 or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
real
Um,
quick, we'll just
Since
direct. That's actually our next question. Just line that up right off the bat.
I think it was
So yeah,
28 or so.
what inspired you to start video mapping and just get on this road?
well, yeah, so I think in about 2013, I was starting to get quite interested in history. Particularly on YouTube, and I did see a lot of Emperor Tiger Stars videos at the time. After a point, I just thought I could probably do it myself, and there were a lot of ups and downs at first. I think generally I did always enjoy doing it, and it just sort of snowballed from there, really.
Yeah, when did you
I've never really looked back.
for lack of a better word, when do you think you found your chi? Like, when did this really, for you, start becoming a rewarding thing, and you really found your stride? Or maybe you haven't yet. I don't know.
I think one big point. Do you know the two History of the World videos I made?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, I think that was made late 2015, and then that kind of blew up quite a lot, and that sort of put me on the map, as it were.
Yes, the algorithm god.
On the
Yeah.
map.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think things did start to speed up a lot after that. That's when I started to grow quite big. Yeah, I think
so
that's the
on
time.
that, what do you think? What's your favorite piece of work that you've put out?
That's a difficult question. I think possibly there's a video I did a few months ago called "The History of Asia." That would certainly be up there because that took ages. I think I started it in about June 2018, in May 2019, something like that. So it took almost a year to do.
Damn.
There is one
Dedication.
question I want to ask. Considering you've been around for a long time, like, how do you feel about like the growth of video mapping as a whole?
I think it's generally a good thing because it does teach people more about history. Um, my only concern about it is not specifically with video mapping, but just generally with history videos, is that you get a lot of people coming into it who have a great understanding of history when they first start. So sometimes things aren't presented properly, or so I think that's my main concern. But overall, I'd say it's a good thing, just because it gets people interested, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's a really great funnel, I think. Like, watching a lot of Emperor Tiger Star's early stuff, that's what pushed me into this whole world.
I just know when you're watching those videos, avoid the comment section.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
What do you think about the comment section? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's difficult to comment on those.
Oh,
I don't know. I never remove comments. I just kind of let it happen because it's always going to be kind of heated in there. You're always talking about stuff that people are going to disagree on. So I don't try and moderate it really.
Just watch it with a disconnect,
Yeah.
fascination, and fun.
Yeah, like
much.
usually I find comment section is either somebody arguing about which history is right, or like something's inaccurate, or something very stupid.
And a lot of the time it's opinion as well. People trying
Yeah.
to argue opinion as fact, things like that. You do just have to ignore it in the end.
Yeah, it's true. So on the subject of video map, like, do you think like I get like it's watching these video mappings a little bit different from like watching like an actual history documentary, but do you think people actually learn history, and here's an important word, in depth, by watching history of insert whatever videos?
It's kind of hard for me to say because I'm the one who's making them rather than watching them so much. But it is certainly a springboard, as we were saying before. I do get a lot of comments all the time saying that, like, because of a certain video. So it certainly does that.
Like I know, like sometimes when I watch like these like time lapse video mapping videos, I look at, oh, what happened here, and then people do like in-depth research on what exactly happened on this year. Like if let's say you see like I don't know, mongoose suddenly growing big, like people would do research on how that happened. And like I think like video, in my opinion, I think like video mapping helps people expand their knowledge on how the world changed over time, and then they look at how like this happened like in depth.
Yeah, but
There is definitely that element of curiosity that comes in there. Yeah.
On the topic of education, how does it feel to have your videos used history lesson, like classrooms?
Yeah, I remember someone showing a history video of your history of the world.
Yeah, I can remember the first time someone said that happened, and I was really kind of amazed. It almost didn't seem real.
Well, it happened to me as well.
Yeah, I think
So
it is good news. But I don't know. That's been happening for quite a long time now, so I guess I've kind of become used to it. It's good news, definitely.
Imagine growing
Yeah,
enough
definitely.
for it to be shown in classrooms.
So yeah, on that same sort of path, how did this just happen recently? It's just sent like a shockwave through the community.
yeah,
How did your collaboration with RT come to be? Like how did they approach you? What was the deal with that?
Oh, that. I mean, I wasn't really that heavily involved in it. I think they just. I thing is, I get a lot of emails all the time asking to use my content. This week, I'll get either an individual or an organization or something asking to use it, and I always just say yes. There's no real reason not to agree to it. Week, they contacted me about it, and I said yes.
Did they compensate you at all?
They promote your channel.
Probably economically would have made sense to ask for money. I'm pretty sure they would have paid us.
Yeah.
yeah, fair point.
I remember a case where that was Breaking a Mapper, where one giant like a channel with over 1 million subscribers basically didn't ask him for permission on a map they used of him that he put on DeviantArt, and he got like compensated for like 1,000 euros because he asked for royalties and said he would go to court otherwise. So basically they just said take the money and shut up, and yeah.
Well, yeah, there wasn't really anything like that. It was literally just an email, I think. I don't think there was anything more to it.
Like, do you ever like consider and think like, what is this? Could this person be trying to like, I don't know, do something malicious, or like? Because I know often like, you know, things like, oh, do you want to join our network? It's a little bit suspicious, like those things. So I'm just wondering, like, do you just say yes out of just for the sake of saying yes, like, because why not? Or do you actually like look into it before you say yes?
Well, I mean, I never just sign a contract. Usually what they'll do is they'll just come up with like a one-line sort of sentence saying, "Can we use this bit of the video for that?" For example, and if you say yes, you do get the publicity. Easy to get then, and if you ask for payment, they might end up just pulling out, and then you don't get the publicity. And
That's true.
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess that's
so
fairly
I
true.
don't. What I'm trying to do, I'm not sort of reselling content onto third parties. That's not what the
Yeah,
business,
well, on
business
that
model is.
topic, we have that listed down. What is your view? How do you feel about the monetization of mapping videos? Because both video mapping and mapping have sort of blossomed into their own like little niche industry of sorts.
It's not that big, but like it's
not
enough
big,
for,
but
for
it's,
bus
you know,
money. At least for me.
I'd say like collectively, it generates at least like $10,000 a month.
No.
There's a little
Yeah,
bit less.
collectively, like the entire community, yeah.
Hey, back.
Especially,
I don't know about that.
especially including video map. So yeah,
Oh,
what do you
including
think?
them.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, it does keep people doing it, if nothing else.
That's
time,
true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
same
Like, do
time
you
it does.
monetize? Like, I think you do, right? Like,
Yeah, I do. I've had a lot of trouble with that because I did use networks in the past, and
oh,
they've often been reliable. Sorry, unreliable.
yeah, you gotta watch out for those networks. Like, some of them
Yeah,
they
they
try
can
to
be
screw you
scams.
over. Like, I remember when I first started, there was like a bunch of people. Hey, you want to join this network? We can help you grow your channel, grow more subscribers.
Don't fall for those, really.
Yeah, and then after a point, I think about a year or two ago, I joined AdSense, as well because I was kicked out of the partner program because some of my old videos had copyrighted music in them.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
that
that.
happened to me a few months.
Yeah, that happens to most of us.
And
Oh my
people
God,
ask me
that's
why I
popular
use
right now.
only Kevin McLeod.
You need to calm down.
Alright, so actually there's one question, like how do you as a video mapper like view like our mapping as a genre, like alternate future, like
Yeah, like alternate. What do you think about mapping? Alternate future style.
I like the sense of community that you've got, because with video mapping we don't really have that so much. We know who like the other channels are, but we don't really talk to them very often. But it seems like you guys, you're always collaborating, you're always talking together.
yeah, but then
the
like
community.
that
has
also
gone
opens up
by
to a
like
lot
the
of problems
past
too.
last 2 years.
So there's community basically.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
would like if video mapping was to like have a community, like do you think it'll be for the better or for the worse? Like, cause I know sometimes, like take our community for example. Like, sure, we might be communicating more often, but that doesn't open up to issues like drama and, people going against each other. You know how like YouTube drama is like, oh, let's expose this YouTuber. Do you
Yeah, I
think
mean,
it will be a bad thing for video mapping, or like, do you think it'll be a fully positive?
it really depends who's in the community. I mean, we did used to have quite a strong community, back around sort of 2014 or 15.
Yeah, I remember that.
Really so tight now, and there wasn't really any drama in it. But I think there's more down to the people in it, if that makes sense. I'd
It's
say.
pretty small.
I mean, I would consider like video mapping, like people who make video mapping are probably a lot older than many of the mappers here.
I
Hey,
view like
that's
video mapping is like between mapping video mapping. Video mapping is like do it for like educational purposes, and mapping is just do it for fun, for
I
entertainment.
wouldn't say fun.
Storytelling,
entertainment.
storytelling,
Yeah.
entertainment.
And yeah, that's entertain.
fun.
To entertain.
It is
Pretty
fun. But yeah, on that, actually, a follow up on the mapping question.
Purely.
Was there any point in time where you considered producing alternate future?
Possibly when I just started, because I was still finding my feet and sort of working out what I wanted to do. But in the end, I just never really did it. And then I'm at the point now where it's not what my audience is expecting. So it's difficult to just sort of switch like that.
That's
what
true.
if you like?
You
What if
could
you
open
like made
like a second channel.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I probably don't have time for that.
Yeah, time
That's true.
Anymore.
time is a common problem. Even I don't have a lot of time.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Who's this?
Yo, Chris, we got
There it is.
Chris
Chris.
here.
Again.
go.
Welcome to the show, Chris. It's about
Thank you.
time.
Yeah, well, that's how I am nowadays. I just come late. So, are we done with the?
No, we're
questions?
still doing the interview.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
Oh, what are the questions? Oh, just asking random questions.
It's in the crew chat. We got the-
Oh.
You can also just ask random questions if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
moving forward on like mapping stuff. What are some things you don't like about today's video mapping? What do you think should change?
I think the big problem it's always had is representing world history fully. So, and I think that you can kind of categorize that into three. So it tends to focus a lot on modern history more than anything else.
So I mean, like less medieval and ancient.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, but isn't
Sorry.
it easier to just do video mapping of modern history because there's more sources on it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and it's like that with the other stuff I was going to say as well. People tend to do what's easier,
Mhm.
and most of that is kind of World War One, World War Two
Yeah.
history.
So
I don't. Sorry.
No, you go.
I don't think there's any kind of malicious intent behind it or anything. It's just people sort of doing what's easy.
Fair enough.
A lot of parts of history, I think.
That is real. That is really interesting, though. This isn't on the doc, but this is like a personal question I've always had about video mapping, and it's frustrated and boggled my mind for 5 years. And it is like the most surface level dumb thing all the time. But legitimately, how do you go about making these videos? What are the sources you go to that give you these precise boards? How do you put this stuff together?
What, me personally, or the community in general?
I suppose you personally.
Yeah, you
Just like
personally, yeah.
in any way.
Personally.
I mean, in my earlier years, I think I just used Wikipedia. Because it was just an easy source that you could get to.
I have an interesting question after that.
I think, yeah, but more recently, I've tried to diverge away from that a bit. It kind of depends on what the video is. A lot of the time, you can find a book on it, and they tend to have a lot of detail. And then sometimes there are certain websites that focus on a certain topic, and I use those as well. But I'll just to summarize it all because it does depend on the time and the region, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I just couldn't ever even imagine like putting in the work to go like find all of this information, get like an accurate depiction of how the lines were each like month of the war. I don't know how that stuff works, but it sounds incredibly time consuming. So like, how long on unusual would it take you to put these together?
At the moment, I'm uploading about every 3 weeks or so, but that's with a week break in between each one, so it's about 2 weeks.
I mean, that's a great turnaround, dude. That's like
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
that is fast.
I mean, I
Go on.
over time, I think about knowing sort of how to search for things and the most efficient ways of researching while still keeping it accurate. Probably not as difficult as it sounds once you've done it a bit.
But yeah, on the topic of your content, we've noticed that you started using like a brown color for your maps, and like what made you want to move away from the classical, the tradition of white backgrounds? That was Viper's question.
You stole Viper's question.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's fine. No, it's okay. But there was another question I want to ask, but I'll touch on that after this.
Holy shit! Wait, yeah.
Okay, so I did use white backgrounds for a long time, and over time I gradually started making the borders more and more complicated and kind of local geography and stuff like that. But I think after a point, it becomes so implausibly complicated that it just didn't anymore. So I decided I needed to do something with the borders, just make them a bit more representative of what was going on, and not sort of shove in detail to a video where it doesn't really need to be there. And I think it sort of snowballed from there, really, and I just the style based on that.
I think yeah, sorry, continue.
Okay.
It's just I thought if I make one change, I might as well start again, rather than making loads of incremental changes, because that wouldn't look good for consistency.
Well, it's a good philosophy. It's good that you shape your own identity around your channel. Give folks a reason to be coming back, you know.
Okay, so I do have a question. So on the topic of Wikipedia and sources, so this is a very important question. It's something that's also been might be questionable just for history in general, not just video mapping. But you know how like the comment section, people argue about what is right and wrong. Like, and then in school, some teachers tell you that Wikipedia is a not reliable source. But then there are resources below Wikipedia that cites where they got these sources from, and those might not be authentic either. So like the textbook is missing this information. So like when you're making video mappings, all I want to ask is like, how do you ever have this like cross your mind? Like, do you think like, is this a reliable source? Like, do you think this source is absolutely correct, or do you think like I know you can't like please everyone, but like try to please the majority? Like, do you ever come across an issue where you feel like this source might not be the same as some other good sources? What I mean by good, I mean like reliable sources.
Yeah, I mean, so sources are something I've gradually thought about more over time, and again, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, for some things, there'll be a certain event that's just established, and that there's no disagreement on, and on that case, you could even just go back to Wikipedia. Agrees. There's no need to go into more detail with it, really. There is agreement that we're trying to investigate it more.
What, did someone just hold?
Ignore that. Cool. Continue.
That's Chris.
Chris.
So
Chris is
what?
getting
So
around.
just to summarize, so you basically you really don't, you just do what you think is best. Is that what you're trying to say?
I suppose so. I mean, like the thing is, so there's something I've been working on at the moment, which is a sort of spreadsheet of sources for Indian history, mainly ancient Indian history. It's taking ages to do. It's going to take probably years to finish it, and that would only work for one video. So I think that's kind of shown that if you research every single claim by buying a book on something, you couldn't really run a channel with it because it would take too long to do each video. You take at least a couple of months to do video. So you do have to make the call and only research things that could be more controversial or where there's more disagreement on, and then the simpler or easier stuff, you could just rely on more basic sources.
I see.
Okay. Chris, do you want to ask one of these questions, Doc?
Oh no, you go. I don't know what questions have been asked, so I don't.
No,
know.
it tells you. We highlighted the ones that have been asked.
Oh, you highlighted has been asked.
Yeah. So we did this last time with Emperor Tiger Stars, so that we know what we.
Does Chris even have to talk?
Yeah, he does.
And the thing is, it says question from Merview interview, so like, is
Yeah,
this
that's
the
not the
That's
right
the wrong document.
Bro.
Well,
Not
that's
for Merview.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I said Emperor Tiger Stars. I think that was
That's
for
the wrong
Merview as
one.
well. Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, sorry.
Anything else we can
Question
ask?
for Ollie. Well, we're getting Chris because we got to include Chris.
Well, I can't find the question.
Alright, I'll
So-
give Chris.
It's
I'll send
above
you,
the
I'll send
Merview
you
dot.
the-
Let me just
I'll
repost
send
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you through DMs if I can find your name.
No, it's here.
It's in the crew chat.
I know, but
No,
just
no,
in
wait,
case
that's
you
the
can't
wrong
find
one.
it, I'll just send it to you.
God damn it!
But by the way, speaking of like Ollie and sources, I remember one time
Okay, you're in.
I want to make a video about like Italian histories, and I know that Ollie had made like a video, showed like history of Italy like year by year, and I asked him for the sources, and like, he had like removed them at that point to me. On that.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, Ollie, like, do you have the sources for Italian videos? Like, oh no, I removed them. Wait, highlights. I mean, the green ones are we
already asked. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
you're doing a lot of questions. Oh, okay. Wait, how's it? Who's the biggest video mapper? Is that
Tigers.
Tiger
Oh.
Stars.
Star.
Okay, well, how does it feel to be the second largest video mapper, Ollie?
Because of Cody.
Because
What?
what?
Did you hear the
Yeah,
question, Ollie?
Let Ollie talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I have been for quite a long time, so I'm sort of used to it now. I think that probably happens around 2015, something like that. There used to be a channel called Suomi.
Oh yeah, him.
Anyway, yeah, he was traditionally the second biggest, and then at some point I overtook him.
Well, how did it feel how did it feel when you actually did become the second, big largest video mapper? Like not right now, but when you actually became the second largest, like did you feel anything special, or was it like, oh, okay, that's cool?
I mean, it was a nice feeling to be that big. I can't deny that.
But not anything special.
Yeah, I mean, I had gradually been rising in the sort of charts. if I can put it like that, for a while. By that point,
Is Swami still alive?
Swomy?
Is Swami still, like the mapper you overtook? Is he still like active or?
not really. He did sort of announce a return a while ago, but he didn't really do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think he's pretty much gone.
Did you get your YouTube silver button yet?
Oh yeah, did you get your silver play
Yeah,
button?
that's an interesting question. Yeah, did you?
Knowing YouTube, probably
Hey.
no.
I actually haven't done it. I think when I got to 100,000, that was when I was not in the partnership program, and I think at that point I wasn't eligible. But
Oh, I didn't know you had to be.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that either.
I
Yeah,
think I
they
probably
can
can
hold
get it
your
now. I don't
silver
know.
play button hostage if they think whatever reason.
But yeah, speaking of YouTube bullshittery, we got a. What is your opinion on recently? We've heard YouTube is planning to roll out demonetization of history content just across the board. So, what do you think about that? Does that scare you?
Yeah, I hadn't actually heard they were doing it across the board. I did hear a while ago there was a channel that was demonetized, but I didn't realize they were going to be rolling out that far.
Are they?
Well, the Great War was a pretty large channel.
Oh, was it a
Yeah,
great
well,
war?
The Great War.
They demonetized.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
demonetized the entire thing.
They demonetized the entire channel. That's what kicked off this entire thing, which then like extended to like other YouTubers like the Armchair
Well-
Historian, I believe, and Alternate History Hub and so on.
But Ollie,
seems
like,
like quite a
jumping on
strange.
that.
but has
It seems like
has
quite a strange thing to do, because I mean, if anything, in the last year or so, they've been going in the opposite direction. Lenient since sort of 2017, early 2018. That was the height of the demonetization era. I think they've pedaled back a bit on that. So after history videos,
has any of your videos been affected by it yet, or is it still
not
going?
too many. I did one about the Syrian civil war.
Oh,
It was like the
that's
Damascus
annoying.
front. Like, yeah, I understand that. And then there are a few really old ones that have copyrighted music on.
Oh, okay, well that's normal.
Other than that, I've kind of escaped it, really.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, do you curse yourself at all for that? Because my most viewed video, it's my only video that has a million views. This is my first video ever made. It's a horrible video, but that's besides the point. I just filled it to the brim with copywritten, like, Globus music. And I didn't see a penny from that. I've hated
same with
myself
me.
ever since. Yeah, so...
It's really sad.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Both the history of the world videos are not monetized for the same reason.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, people really like those videos, I think. And if I got rid of the music, it would be kind of video.
It'd be sacrilege, you know?
So I do take a
Can't
hit
lie.
from it financially, but I think I'm probably going to keep the music just because so many people seem to like it.
Yeah, actually, some of the music you picked are really nice. Like, but I never looked into the title of them. I just listen it off your video mapping videos. So I kind of use video mapping videos as also like a way to listen to music, and then somehow I can remember in my head how the map goes while listening to the music.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else does that, but for me, when I watch mapping videos, after I watch it a couple times, I remember the music and I remember exactly what's happening in the map.
For some videos, it's like that. And when I listen to what's it called, like the old Emperor Tiger Star World 2 video, like with the Kevin MacLeod music, whatever. And when I hear the music, I remember like each slide of like what happened, like when that music played at that part of the video in Emperor Tiger Star Wars 2.
Connection issues.
Rip.
So,
Connection issues.
conclude... Mindra is having some.
Oh.
Coffee indigestion shit.
Oh.
Okay,
Rip.
so, final question here in our interview segment. We got... Ollie, do you see yourself still doing this? Still video mapping? Still putting these videos out 10 years from now?
That I think that's going to depend partly on thing. If I'm doing the same brown maps going to run out of content to do before then.
Honestly,
More
weren't
wars.
you doing like
Maybe
some-
we'll get World War III. Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
start
we
more
need,
wars,
we need
guys.
more
Ollie
wars.
needs content.
More.
No. But what about that video you were doing where you were doing like some voiceover talking about like history? Not like map animation, but like literally you were talking about it. Like what about that?
Oh, yeah. That was with a channel called Vlogda Mapping. I don't know if you know him. He's more of a video mapping channel.
You were
Anyway,
doing the voiceovers, right?
he was doing the voice. I was doing the animation.
Oh, I swear that almost sounds like your voice.
Yeah, I guess we have quite similar voices. Anyway, the reason we stopped that was because YouTube works. Every episode, you're not going to sort of start a series halfway through. So the total amount of views you get on the first one is the maximum amount you can get for any future video, and they'll gradually lose like 10% each time. So series that long just don't really work. So in the end, I think we just decided to kind of put it on hold.
Oh, so you.
Who's
so,
typing? Hold
so
on.
right now there's
What?
no plan for.
I think that's
continuing
Batran.
it.
I mean, that's bad one, yeah.
Well, there might be, but we'd have to like not do it as a series. We'd have to just sort of keep them separate and not, because the series just doesn't work really on YouTube any more than about 3 episodes, and you just won't get any views on them.
I think that's sad.
Yeah.
My Wendy's is here. Oh yes, we're back.
Jeez. Fucking-
Wendy's, he DoorDashed Wendy's like right before the show started. I'm gonna pray he
Okay.
doesn't eat that through the show.
Well, does anybody have any more questions or?
I think that runs us out of questions
That's
for
it.
now. Yeah.
Okay.